What's up, guys? Evil Deer here, and
I am Daly.
okay, and Daly. So today, this is going to be our first attempt at the Unnamed Language Podcast. If you guys have got a better name, let us know in the comments below. I actually kind of like that name, the Unnamed Language Podcast.
Unnamed Language Podcast. I reckon we could rock that.
I reckon we totally can. Now, I guess we're going to do some introductions, because obviously you guys know me, you probably know everything about me, where I was born, you know, my height, my weight, all that type of stuff. But they probably don't know as much about you unless they've been watching the Esperanto videos.
Crap, I've just blanked.
You just forgot your own existence.
Yes, I'm just straight up there.
Yeah, he's really just a lizard wearing a skin, people, just so you know.
So, similar to Richard, I actually grew up, I'm from regional Queensland initially. I grew up in the countryside and moved down to Sydney to embrace a bigger, wider culture.
Yes, a bigger, wider culture. Now, funnily enough, I actually got a question about this because someone asked me, what is it like learning a language in Australia, a primarily monolingual country? And I've actually never really thought about this before, but when I do think about it, yeah, it's like there's really no need to learn languages here.
No, I mean, I have been when I was learning Esperanto. I remember a few people I worked with asking, why learn a language? Everyone speaks English here, and it is a good question, but the honest answer was just interest. I want to learn more about other cultures. I wanted to challenge my brain. I wanted to do something a lot more fun than just roam through our our regular old existence in English.
Yeah, pretty much. You know, I actually can pinpoint the exact time in my life I first became interested in languages. So I was like a kid. I must have been like 7 years old or something. But I remember at the time we had these roaming salesmen who went from door to door. They still kind of exist now, but like back then that was all the thing.
Definitely dropped out.
Yeah. And I remember like this guy came to our door. He had like a business suit and he was selling the Botanica encyclopedias. Yeah, and like some way this
door-to-door salesman for an encyclopedia.
I know, totally. But like I remember like somehow this guy sweeped my dad into like buying the entire set. And this is quite crazy because at the time we had like no money. But anyway, he bought it and then like you didn't get it right then. You had to wait a few weeks later. And then one day like this giant like crate of books just rocked up. And I remember opening it up and just looking through this and going, Jesus Christ, the world's bigger than I thought it was, because like there was no internet or anything at that time.
Yeah, I remember being at my grandmother's place and I would read through, like she had these giant world atlases that would fold out to like the pages were like this big, and you'd flip it open and it's just this monster of the world. You flick between all the pages of it, and that was like, why, I wonder what these other places are all like.
Yeah, that's pretty much exactly like me. Like I was just flipping through one, and I remember coming across this graph that showed the evolution of the Latin alphabet, going back from Phoenician and all that type of stuff, and going through Greek and all this type of stuff.
Yeah.
And I remember going, so you mean it doesn't always look like this? It was different at one stage.
I remember. I reckon for me, my actual point that I started getting an interest in language again was as a kid. I think I was probably 8 years old. And there was this cartoon on the ABC that was to do with like King Tut and as a mummy roaming around today, and I thought, and they kept showing all these, all the hieroglyphs. I was like, oh, that's so cool! I want to know what hieroglyphs mean. I want to know how to read that. And I went through this huge phase where I was reading every like Egyptian book in my primary school library, which was very outdated even back at the time, but now it's like none of that would even be remotely
I'm
accurate.
thinking like pretty much anyone who gets into languages goes for an Egyptian phase of the hieroglyphs, because I had the exact same thing.
Did you have like a code phase, like a ciphers and secret languages phase?
Yes, in fact, me and my brother actually created a very small mock language when we were kids.
Oh really? I didn't know.
Yeah, like I totally forgot about it until you like literally just mentioned that. But I remember like we were in the garage and we're making up like words. And it was like code words so our parents wouldn't understand, and then it kind of like evolved and got more and more complex.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure like if he watches this video, he'll probably like drop a couple of words down in the comment section. Like I remember there was a couple of words. He from every now and then he thinks I'm a bit of a geek, so like sometimes he drops by and says hello type thing. But yeah, like I didn't even know that was a conlang. Like to me, it was just like something I did. I didn't discover conlangs and created languages until like donkey's years later type of thing. In fact, when was the first time you came across like Esperanto?
So I came across Esperanto. It was I can remember it exactly. It was April. It was Easter. Was it 2017 or 2018? It's the same year I met you in.
Oh, okay. I reckon you probably met me maybe 2009 or 10. No, you probably was 2010 you met me, I reckon.
No.
Wait, later.
No, it was much later. It was the years passed very
Oh
differently.
no, we're getting old.
No, it was genuinely in the 20-teens. It was late 20-teens. So it was either 17 or 18. Anyway, it was Easter. And my wife at the time, she was distracted assembling a Lego kit, and I'm just like, what do I do this Easter? So I pulled open Duolingo, and I'm just scrolling through, going, what do I learn? What's Esperanto? I don't know what that is. So I just jumped on Wikipedia. I'm like, Esperanto is a constructed language. Oh, cool. Jump back in, and I did through basically the first half of the Duolingo course for Esperanto then, and I was like, this is so cool. I was watching this TV show at the moment where somebody was learning Italian, and they mentioned like pomme for apple, and I'm just like, I knew that word. Oh my god, one word. Yes, I am a linguistic genius.
So the fact that you discovered this through Duolingo and started learning it through Duolingo literally makes you a Chuck Smith baby.
Oh.
Chuck Smith is the guy who worked on the Esperanto course. I've worked with him before, and it's like Duolingo did a lot of good stuff for the Esperanto community early on, but you're literally like a Chuck Smith baby.
Yeah. Oh no, that feels weird to acknowledge that. But as soon as I got to this point where, because I was learning it on the mobile, and Duo's learning system is not like, it doesn't work for me that well.
Yeah.
But it gave me a good basis on like how some things work. Then I just jumped on Wikipedia and I read the grammar, because Esperanto's grammar is just the 16 rules and a whole bunch, simplicity. So I just studied the grammar off that, and then came back to Duo. Like, I am a new man. And then I found another app called Drops, which is basically just a flashcard.
I've heard about it. I haven't used it though.
Yeah, I used that to basically just expand my vocabulary, and just from there I tried integrating Esperanto words into my regular English phrases until it was just half English, half Esperanto.
That must have been really weird to listen to at the time for random people.
It was mostly just writing down notes. So it would just be like, me need to buy banana.
You're basically doing like interweaving, where because there's like, that's actually like a technique where people they'll read books where it's like partially in the target language and then partially in the original. There's an app for it actually. I did a review of it. I forget the name of the app, but it turned out to be really crap because it was basically AI generated.
I know there's an add-on for, is it Chrome? It's a browser add-on anyway that's called Toucan, which does the same thing. It'll just swap out the occasional English word for German words or.
Oh, okay. Because I think the app that I'm
not sure if it works well though, because I did find some that translated very badly.
Yeah, that's the problem when you especially you go between, like, if you try interweaving with two totally different languages, it doesn't work obviously. But like related languages, it can be quite well. It work quite good. So that was basically how you learned Esperanto. When was the first time we met? I'm pretty sure it was in the place where we're filming right now, which is the Esperanto
it was just downstairs.
Yep.
So I discovered through a forum Amikumu.
Oh, that's the app that I established ages back. Yeah, Amikumu.
Yeah, so I jumped on Amikumu, and some random reached out to me on it, and was just like, "Hi, my name is Max."
Oh, there's Max.
Yeah, it was Max. And we, I was working in the CBD. He was working in the city as well, and we met up for beers after work one night.
Oh man, I'd love to get Max on this actual podcast.
Oh, that'd be great. We need to catch up.
Yeah, we need to catch up. For those who don't know, Max knows the most random languages.
Yeah, he. I mean, aside from Esperanto, he's also proficient in both ASL and Auslan. He was learning.
I know he did Tokipona as well.
Did he?
Yeah. He did Tokipona way before I did it. I think that was probably influenced by another friend of ours who's Kaya, and if you're a long time viewer, you definitely know him.
Yeah. someone else we should definitely bring in here.
Definitely.
Kaya is chaos unleashed.
He is. If you can get him to rock up on time, that dude will not rock up on time to anything. I've got some, it's so funny because we've got a language festival coming up. If you don't know what a language festival is, it's literally a day of like where people present different languages, do talks on them and stuff. And I'm actually going to be talking at one on the 19th of Feb. I might film it and upload it to the channel. But anyway, for years this festival's been going on, and this dude will be like, he'll put his name down to talk about like Tokipono Language Festival. The day rocks up, the dude doesn't rock up.
Didn't he show up to your place once 3 days late for a meeting?
Yes, man. I hope he sees this, okay? So there was this one time, I swear to God, I organised a meetup with him because he's a really good Esperanto speaker. In fact, he speaks like a ton of languages, crazy good in lots of languages. But anyway, he was going to meet up at my place, and we organised this for a Saturday, okay? Yep. And it was meant to be at 12. And he didn't rock up. I tried to contact him, but I'm used to Kaya just not appearing when he says he's going to appear. So I forgot about it. Then on Sunday, I walked out to go for a walk to go buy some stuff. And I meet him on the way to where I was going. And this is not a random occurrence because he lives like on the other side of the city. And I'm like, hey Kaya, what are you doing here? He's like, I'm coming for our meetup. I'm like, dude, that was yesterday at 12. It's like now 3 p.m. on Sunday.
It's like when we had to go out to that house to kick out those tenants.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like we were all supposed to meet up at like 10 a.m. and just go straight to the place. And Kaya just no-showed. We did what we had to do, and we showed that afterwards we're going to get ice cream, and Kaya messages at 3 p.m. and it's like, hey, I've just showed up at the station. Dude, that was 5 hours ago.
Maybe we should rename this to the Rage Against Kaya podcast.
Rage Against Kaya. No.
But like overall, if you can get him in the room at the right time. If you can get him in the room at the right time, he's really good. He knows a ton of languages.
Fantastic.
Yeah, speaks multiple languages, really good at Auslan and stuff, and he's just like a fun personality overall.
Definitely.
But when I think about like the first...
Sorry, Kaya.
But when I think about like how I stumbled across Esperanto, it was completely random as well. Because I remember like I was in the military at the time, and I literally just spent a week on trying to learn French. And I had come to the opinion that French is a disgustingly terrible language to try and learn. You guys are gonna mind, like I hadn't learned a lot of languages by this stage, so like this is not a good first choice, okay?
No.
So I was like, I gave up on French. Sorry, all the French speakers out there. And then I was like, sitting there at Google thinking, I want to learn a language because I know I'm not that stupid. I can learn something. So I literally typed in what is the easiest language in the world to learn, and I came across a Wikipedia article about Esperanto.
So we've read the same Wikipedia article.
Whoever wrote that article has probably made a lot of Esperanto speakers.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Do you reckon it was Chuck Smith?
It probably was. That dude also actually founded, I believe, the Czech encyclopedia, Wikipedia page or whatever, because like he went over, I think, to the Czech Republic or something, did some like talks about Wikipedia. This is back in its early days, and like convinced a bunch of people to literally start the Czech translation. Like the version of Wikipedia. Wow. So like he started a lot of random stuff. No. But like he travels from like Esperanto event to Esperanto event and just talks about like stuff that he loves, like Wikipedia, Duolingo, Amical, all these types of things. So he's like really good at just like promoting like ideas for like languages and stuff.
That's brilliant.
If he was in Australia, I'd get him on the podcast as well.
Oh, for sure. I mean, we could always, phone him in.
Possibly.
At some point.
Possibly, but I do like the fact that like I can just reach over and slap you if you say something wrong. No, I'm joking. You're gonna make a little bit of a run at it, are you? No, you stay right there, my friend. You still got like probably 30 minutes with me. But like, what other languages you played with?
So aside from Esperanto, I've played a little bit with Auslan. I actually had a housemate that was hard of hearing, and met their mother, and their mother was actually deaf. So got to sit in, have tea, and have lunch with an actual deaf person, and just tried to, we did manage to communicate. It was cool. It was quite a struggle in my brain at the time because I had no experience behind it at all.
Yeah.
But that sparked an interest in Auslan, and I will go back to it.
Yeah, because I remember last year you were mentioning the fact that you were tempted to take up the Auslan courses to become an interpreter.
Yes, I was really tempted to. I still might jump in on those Auslan courses at some point, but At this point, I'm pretty happy with where I'm at work. So
Yeah. Maybe that's
shelf that as an occupation, but as a hobby,
Yeah.
I would love to.
Because I actually did a week of Auslan course. Like there was a 1 week course happening in the northern part of Sydney. And I remember like from the course, I've forgotten most of it, but like you've got your primary and your secondary hand type of thing.
Yes.
And they say, oh, your primary hand should be, like whatever your main hand is type of thing.
Yes.
But I found out very quickly that like some fingers just don't work very well on one hand.
Yes.
So I couldn't like do certain things.
Yeah.
So I had to swap my primary hand. So it was like really weird.
And they find it really confusing. I found there was a couple of signals I couldn't do with my primary hand, and I started by swapping to the other hand for just those, and it made people mad because you don't cross.
You don't do that. And like when I got into Auslan, I did not think that like finger fitness was something I would have to work on. They're really good with their goddamn fingers. Really flexible.
I will be honest though. Auslan or sign languages in general is something I could talk about for days on end. I'm super passionate about it. I cannot believe that so few people are actually taught it when there are entire communities within every country who just can't. Some of them can speak English, but some of them, they just, or whatever their region's local dialects are, but like they're just culturally isolated, and that's a horrible thing.
Yeah, it is.
To live in a country where you can't speak to your neighbours.
And it also actually reminds me, like people talk about, because I've had a few people come to my channel and ask me what do I think about the future of interpreting, with AI and all that type of stuff. And funnily enough, if you're interested like in becoming an interpreter, the great thing is you can actually learn sign language and you don't need to be a native speaker, because it's like the one language where you don't need to be a native speaker of the language and then actually get employment there, because the native speakers of the language, they can't obviously communicate. Yeah. So they need non-natives to help them.
Yeah.
As opposed to say, like, if I wanted to become a Chinese interpreter, that would be like a terrible idea.
Oh.
Because one, I'm not going to get a job. And even if I got like the best of the best Chinese, the jobs available, it's not really financially worth the time investment type of thing.
No, I mean you've got the fact that technology AI will be able to it's never going to be perfect, but it's going to do a really bang up job now.
Yeah.
It's
an interesting topic, and I've gone into this topic a few times on this channel about like what do I think AI is going to do to languages overall, to people's desire to learn languages, and even to Esperanto, because obviously Esperanto was created to be an auxiliary language, and then a lot of people are like, yeah, well, AI is doing that now, we don't need Esperanto anymore. And I've got some pretty strong opinions on this. Yeah. So for example, I think AI is not going to be bad for Esperanto in any way. I think in fact, if anything, it's going to be beneficial for Esperanto, but probably not for most languages.
Yeah, but I think I agree with you on this. I have a feeling I know where you're leading.
Okay, then go.
I reckon your theory is that AI is going to bring out hobby languages more.
Yep.
So it will bring out the passion for people to want to learn a language because they want to. And that brings things like Esperanto to the forefront because it is a fun language to learn. Yep.
Because then not the vast majority of people are going to need to learn certain specific languages for work purposes. Obviously, there's always going to be a need. Like, there's always going to be someone out there who needs to learn a language or whatever. But, like, it's like the difference between, when we moved from horses to, cars type of thing.
Oh,
we didn't get rid of horses. There's still people who need and use horses, but, like, the vast majority of people don't need them anymore.
No. I'm going to sidestep just a little bit back to your earlier question about how I met you. Because I really want to tell this little...
Oh, okay. Okay, I'm ready.
So, aside from when I met Max, the thing was I was trying to also do some comprehensible input, and so I was regularly watching YouTube videos that were in Esperanto.
Oh.
And there's one particular Esperanto YouTube channel
that could be
that was on my radar. So I was watching your channel all the time. I'd watched like 100 of your videos at this point. And, I met Max on this Friday night. He's like, oh, come along to the Esperanto house. And, they meet up on Wednesdays. And so I do. I come along with Max. We meet up out the front of here and we walk in. And in my head, like, I'm just expecting to see some random Esperanto people. I've got no idea what I'm expecting. But just as I walk through the door, there's you just sitting at a table eating some crackers or something, and I'm just like, ah! It's the guy! Oh,
Just
I'm in
eating
the
some
mix of a
crackers.
celebrity! Like, I thought, because there's no one else that was really on YouTube at the time. I mean, there was a couple of others,
Yeah.
but you were the big Esperanto channel with all the content. And
Yep.
so to me, as this little country bumpkin that walks in, there's a celebrity in my midst. What do I do? And I was so nervous
And
talking to you the first
of course,
time.
the best image is me just sitting there eating crackers.
Yeah.
Really dignified, eh? I was probably stuffing my face, not even paying attention.
Yeah, it's back when they had that table right next to the door.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't even remember that day, in all honesty.
But I remember after that, Kaya showed up.
Yeah, yes, the famous Kaya.
Yeah.
Yep.
And me, you, Kaya, Max, and my wife as well. We all went down. After chatting here for a bit, we went down to that pub just on the corner down there.
Yep. So if you guys watched one of my previous videos, I said, I used to have like this regular meetup where I'd meet with all the Esperanto speakers and we'd just talk languages, and it's what I missed. That's what he's literally talking about right now. He was one of the guys who went down to the pub with me.
And that was the first pub meet it was the first one I went to, but as far as I'm aware, that was the first one that any of us
It probably was.
And then we were like, this was great. Next week.
Yeah.
Next week.
Because it was a really interesting time when Esperanto came to Duolingo. So prior to this, the Esperanto community here was very stagnant. It was the same faces every single day. Maybe some random person would rock up every now and then. You'd be like, oh my god, who was that type of thing?
Wow.
Wow, that's like seeing a rare animal in the wild
Yeah.
type of thing. But then Esperanto came to Duolingo, and then suddenly just people start flooding into the house, and it's like,
Yeah,
we're free!
we actually started doing lessons downstairs.
Yeah.
And then from there, I remember there were times when we had like nearly 20 people in the house.
Yeah, in just one event, which was pretty crazy.
And they were new people.
Yeah,
All new people.
Yeah, that was the point where I was running lessons like every single week just to try and keep up the pace of the new people that were flooding in type of thing.
And then because you couldn't do it every week, you still had things you had to obligations elsewhere. They'd start bringing others. So Kaya ran some lessons.
Yep.
Even I got thrown into the midst. I ran a few lessons. It was bizarre at first, but I actually kind of loved it.
Yeah, no, it was a really good time. That's the one thing that annoys me about Duolingo is when they went public, they basically shut down all their volunteer courses and they kicked out all the teachers, and then they gave them like this, because like all the courses on Duolingo were literally volunteer made. And like they basically just went up to each of the volunteers and said, we'll give you like a little bit of a pay to take ownership of this type of thing. And it was like a symbolic payment type of thing. And if you didn't take it, then they'd shut down the course. So of course everyone's going to be, who put in like thousands of hours building these courses, is going to be like, well fine then, I'll take the tiny little payment, you own it.
That happened.
Yeah.
So is that why Duo changed that massively and dramatically so quickly?
Yep, because they cut off basically access to all the volunteer teachers, and they brought it all in-house apparently.
Dude.
But like that's why there's so many problems with the courses now, because they're just not being maintained.
Yeah, I don't even.
I don't recommend Duolingo anymore.
I used to recommend it for not as the standalone thing, but like if you wanted to get into a language, do that and some other things as well.
Obviously, there was like, I didn't talk about the other languages at the time, but like for Esperanto, it was a good gateway. It was like you go to there,
It was
then
the
you
gateway drug.
Yeah, pretty much. You go from there, and then like and as part of the volunteer course, they would actually direct you to external resources and stuff. It was really good. But they killed that, then they killed the forums, they killed the comments, the notes.
That's right. It was the Duo forum that I found out about Amakumu through.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, they literally killed their app. And I feel like that they did. Like, obviously, it's still growing and stuff now.
It's so much of it's also like you basically need premium for so much of it now, from what I've heard.
Yeah, like I've never bought the premium, but I do remember I went on there to play because I tried learning how to Klingon a little bit. I know.
No.
I know, but like I did like a little bit of the Klingon course, and they just kept hitting me with like those ads and stuff, and I was just like, nah, I'm out, type of thing. Yes, I've played with the most random. I did Klingon, I did a little bit of Dothraki, I did yeah, obviously I did Latin.
Yeah, I tried the Latin course on it. It was really weird because I was at the point where I'd learned Esperanto and I was really comfortable in Esperanto. And so I'm jumping into this Latin course for the first time and words are just like,
This is just Esperanto.
This is wrong Esperanto.
Yeah,
What's
yeah.
going on?
That's literally right now, because I'm
Yes.
doing a Dreaming Spanish challenge, and in fact, I think you've started it with me.
I started I started it. I think I'm on day 4 of it now.
Yeah.
So
and
I'm a few
like,
days behind you.
I think I'm like 18 hours in, because I'm basically doing a challenge where I'm learning Spanish completely via comprehensible input to see after 2,000 hours if I do have a perfect accent, like they say, type of thing. But the funny thing is, so far, I'm looking at Spanish, and I keep telling everyone, it's just badly spoken Esperanto.
Yeah, like I'm finding it's like every third or fourth word is like, hello Esperanto word.
And
I know.
I'm actually a little bit concerned that might make me start speaking Spanish one day with like an Esperanto accent.
Would that be the worst thing?
That would be
Actually,
random.
what is do you know what the accent for Spanish is? Like,
No.
where do they stress?
I don't know, because I'm only 18 hours in, and I can like hear words and understand them. Like, when they say like, I eat and I know what that is. Like, I know those things. But like, that's the thing with comprehensible input, is you can hear it, recognize it, but you can't pronounce it. At least the theory is like, until you've heard it so many times that it just becomes instinctive.
I mean, it does make sense that eventually you will learn to understand it quite natively. But I feel like comprehensible input does have this little problem where you haven't spoken it at all, and this is, I feel like I can back it up from a different kind of experience that I know some friends have had.
Yep.
I've got quite a few friends who were raised here in Australia to parents who are either from the Philippines, from Indonesia, or from China.
Yep.
Or actually one of them was Hong Kong, sorry, but their parents speak to them in their native language.
Yep.
But the children were told to respond back in English. And this has led them to understanding it completely fluently, but they all say that they are not confident to even speak a single word of the language that their parents speak directly to them.
Yeah, man.
And so I feel like
I
feel like all of them have the ability to start breaking down that barrier.
Yeah.
Like if they did start speaking it, they could break the barrier pretty quickly and lean into fluency. But
this reminds me so much of the fact, like, I don't know if this is true for other countries, but in Australia, there's this stupid belief system among especially parents of foreigners who are like, I must speak English to my kids, or the kids won't learn English, and then they just speak like a badly accented English all the time. And I'm like, why waste your time? Speak your native language. The kid's going to pick up English perfectly fine.
Yeah.
It's so common though.
I mean, that happened to you, didn't it?
Yeah, well, I kind of had a similar but different situation. So my mum spoke to me in German when I was a kid because she learned German. She's from Germany, obviously. And the problem was, she was friends with like teachers or something when I was like super yellow. When I was super yellow. When I was super yellow, I've suddenly become white now. Like all Germans are instinctively yellow.
So for some reason, when you said like super yellow, and stopped, for some reason in my head, I didn't interpret it as yellow. I interpreted it as like a version of unripe. You were super unripe, like you're a fruit.
Okay, well let's anyway, back to the story at hand. So the teachers, they said to my mum, they were like, oh, don't speak German to him or he won't learn English. So my mum naturally, as like a young mother, freaked out and stopped speaking German at all. And I wish I could go back and freaking throat punch these people, because I would be speaking like German right now, and then I'd also obviously be speaking English, and I could finally be like that ultimate Giga Chad polyglot on YouTube selling really expensive courses.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, like, Jesus, man, now I have to work for it. Oh, how are we looking for time?
Our camera is probably about to stop recording.
Okay, so we're going to have a quick intermission. Intermission over. Oh, okay.
To explain what's going on there, his camera can only record for 30 minutes at a time. So I set a timer for 29 minutes just so we can not just like
randomly like just cut in the middle type of thing. And by the way, did you reset the timer?
Oh,
you better set that timer.
It's on.
But your parents were also German heritage, aren't they?
My grandparents. So my grandfather spoke German, and he didn't pass it down onto his kids. It was sort of a train of, like, his father spoke German like fluently. He was born and raised initially there. Yep. My grandfather was raised in Australia but to German parents.
Oh, okay.
So he had some German knowledge, but he wasn't, or at least by the time I knew him, he only knew some basic German.
Okay,
Maybe he was fluent, maybe he never was. I actually never got to ask him, unfortunately.
It's actually a really interesting thing. Is like
it never got passed down to my parents.
Yeah, I've actually watched my mum's German deteriorate over the years.
Yeah.
So like, because like she used to speak German with my Oma, so grandma. And then obviously when my Oma passed away, then it was just like just her and her brother. But her and her brother both majority grew up in Australia, so they switched to English.
Yep.
And the only time my mum ever speaks German is like when some random person comes by, type of thing, you know, in the town or something, and maybe they work at the same company. And it's actually interesting, is because my mum primarily learned German from my Oma. And my Oma, obviously, the German she spoke was like probably the because they had a period in Germany where they like revised language. You probably know a lot more about this because you're learning German. Yeah, so
there was this revision of the language.
Yeah.
So it's pre-revision.
Yeah, so when my mum does speak German, like at the factory where she'll work with someone, because like they'll have mechanics that come over from Germany to fix some of the machines. They look at her like she's speaking Shakespearean English or something.
Oh, that's wild.
Yeah.
I've heard the same thing with things like, have you heard of Texas German?
Yeah, and also, what's the other one? There's Louisiana, and then there's also,
of
course there's the Amish.
Yeah,
Pennsylvania and Dutch, yeah,
the Amish. But yeah, Texas German, and you're right, there is another one. I can't remember where it is, but...
Did you know we've actually got Amish in Australia?
What?
Yeah.
No way.
We have, down in Tasmania.
Seriously?
Yeah, it's a tiny community though, and it's so crazy how I read an article about it. So what happened is there was a bunch of business people here in Sydney, okay? Yeah. They own businesses and stuff, and they got sick of like the rat race life, and they went and did traveling. They went over to America, and these people were religious, and they met the Amish, and they loved the Amish lifestyle, so they stayed with the Amish, learned everything, moved to Tasmania in Australia, got rid of all tech, and just started living an Amish lifestyle. So they're actually rocking around in buggies and everything down there.
No! Yeah. That's wild!
Yeah, there's not many of them. I think it's like 2 or 3 families. Not many. But like, there's literally and they've got lots of kids. So you can imagine that it's going to grow.
That is so cool. Do you reckon they take tourists?
Well, they must have, because they learned from the other Amish in America. And that's so funny, because like they use modern tech to go learn about the Amish lifestyle, to come back using modern tech and then scrap it, and they're like, yeah, we're living like Amish.
That's bizarre. Cool though.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool.
Very cool, but bizarre. But yeah, on that note of like
the Pennsylvania Dutch.
No, the
Texan Dutch.
No. On the note of Texan Dutch though, you definitely recommend watch some videos on Texas Dutch. It is Texas German. It is wild. It is cool. And it sounds, if you know any German, it sounds really unique.
Okay.
Because it's from when the settlers came over. So it's kind of like you were describing with your mother, but even more. Yeah, because I'm guessing it's longer in history. Yeah, so these are people speaking like the dialect of German from from a specific region of Germany. Yep. 150 or 200 years ago. Yep. And so there's this massive layer of divorce, like this massive divorce between it and current German, and like there are words that are in use there that no longer are in use. Yep. But it's also created its own slang. Like it's evolved in its own way. It's not just ancient German. It's an offshoot, kind of like Scots. This like I've noticed a little bit with Esperanto. This is really interesting. Okay, so I recently went to China and I met Esperanto speakers while I was over there. Now, Esperanto is a pretty unified language across the entire world, type of thing. People ask me about this, funny enough. They're like, well, is it like evolving in different directions and stuff? And I'd say, generally not, because like most of the community is online. However, the Chinese community is kind of like cut off from the rest of the world due to the internet. That makes sense. Now, the young Esperanto speakers in China, they find ways around that and they've got no issues. But the older Esperanto speakers, they still basically use like the Esperanto that Zamenhof used in a lot of ways. Oh, really? Yeah, because I met with like a bunch of older Esperanto. Some older structures. Yeah, there's older structures and like certain words that I use. They're like, never heard of that word before, and I was like, and they'll use some other word that I hadn't heard of. And I was like, I'd look it up, and it was a Zamenhofian word. So I was like, oh, wow. I've never heard the term Zamenhofian, but I love it. Well, I guess it makes sense. Yeah. So, but like, it kind of like happened a little bit there, I kind of want like some examples of this.
I think I've got a thing on my phone about this somewhere. Like, I remember taking some screenshots of the words that he was in his
I do remember you sent me one.
Yeah. It was probably that one. Oh god, I got too many pictures. No, I'm not gonna find this anytime
not
soon.
Not for now.
Now
we can
I
worry
also,
about that later in notes or something.
you know, I also had, because I posted a notice saying, hey, what should we discuss about on this channel?
Yeah.
And the first question, I don't know if we even covered it, was like, what's it like learning a model? We did cover that.
Oh,
and
yes.
then the next question was like actually under one of my random videos. And they're like, I want to hear more about your acting experience. And I was like, okay. And I read the comment and they're like, I've heard a lot of actors in Australia struggle. So they make money doing gay porn. And they were asking me about my experience doing gay porn.
Sorry, what?
I didn't even know this was a thing. Like, I'm not even sure it's legal in Australia. Like, where did this belief come from? Because, like, obviously there's certain states where, you know, sexual services are permitted in Australia.
I mean, they are permitted in New South Wales.
They are in New South Wales, but I didn't know...
Not in other states.
I don't even know if there's a film industry here for that.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say I've ever heard of it.
I'm going to segue so badly right now. I remember years ago on Reddit, okay, in the Esperanto subreddit, someone found a cam girl who spoke Esperanto.
What?
I shit you not. And you can imagine how many Esperantos are like, give us the link, I want to go check out it. And apparently, because I never checked it out, I'm a married man. Okay, apparently her Esperanto was pretty good.
You know what is concerning about, like, I mean, the example of, you know, how I just happened to randomly meet you, the YouTuber that I met.
Yep.
The Esperanto community is pretty small and is pretty tight.
Yes.
Therefore, an Esperanto cam girl is probably known quite well within one of the Esperanto communities.
Well, there's definitely a way to get repeat customers. Like, I'm sure there's plenty of young Esperanto guys who are like, this is my dream girl. But yeah, the Esperanto community is pretty small, and like, for example, this like war that's been happening between Russia and Ukraine has been pretty crazy because there's a lot of Esperanto speakers in Russia and Ukraine. And I've been reading articles on Liberta Folio, which is like an online newspaper for Esperanto speakers about, like, you know, these Esperantos fighting over there in Ukraine and some of them dying type of thing. And it's like, man, that's really crazy, when you think about it. Yeah, it's pretty rough. That went down a dark path, didn't it?
I was not expecting that. Next question!
Next question, yeah. So I guess I should answer that gay porn question. No, I have not done any gay porn.
And nor will you.
And nor will I.
Sorry, stop and think for a second.
Look, I'm a very open guy. I like to think over questions before I answer, but no, I'm not going to do it. I'm pretty sure. Although my wife would probably enjoy it. I hope she never watches this.
Yeah, I hope.
Because she would.
I think we're you know,
we're pretty safe.
We're safe.
The good thing is she doesn't like watching videos of me because she says I just talk non-stop and I don't shut up.
I mean, that is true.
It is true, very, very
That's
true.
why we're here.
That's exactly why we're here. Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, why'd you get into German? Because that's your main language that you're learning at the moment.
Yeah, so German is kind of my reason for learning German was basically back in, like, growing up, like, as I said, like, my family came from Germany. They immigrated in the 1910s.
So they weren't the bad Germans?
No.
Okay, good.
No.
Mine were the bad Germans.
Oh.
They immigrated after that period.
I've actually, I gotta grab this. One day I'll grab this photo, I've got to show it to you. Yep. So my family were musicians. They were German musicians. And there's this image that my aunt found of my great grandfather leading a, I believe it was in Scotland, leading a military band.
In Scotland?
In Scotland. There's people wearing kilts and stuff.
That's so random.
Yeah.
That's...
So I'm guessing the old man travelled a bit.
Yeah.
But like, it was like this, I don't know if it was a military band, but it looked like, and I feel like it had a name. It was like, you know, the something military band or something.
The something. That narrows it down, my man. Narrows it down.
Look, I'll ask my aunt about it. I'll get a copy of the photo.
Yeah.
And I'll come back to you on.
Yeah, we'll come back to the podcast with it.
Yeah.
By the way, if you guys like this podcast, let us know in the comments below and share it around because obviously if it's not something you guys want to see, then we're not going to do it, eh?
And if you've got any names for the Unnamed Language podcast, aside from the Unnamed Language podcast, which I kind of do.
I'm digging
if you've got some name ideas, we'll listen to them.
Yeah. But the name idea cannot just be the daily podcast.
No, not
because that would hurt me.
Evil Day and Daily something.
Daily. The Dahlia.
Dahlia.
Oh God, no.
No, that sounds like a disease.
No, it also sounds like, when a couple gets together and they combine their names.
Yeah, no, we're not portmanteauing ourselves.
We're not doing that.
We're not becoming a suitcase.
Come on, do it. You know you want it. This actually reminds me of a story of one of the Esperantos I was speaking with in China about, crazy family heritages and stuff.
Yeah.
So, during the... Oh, God, I thought there was a bird pecking at the window, but it's just my chair. Okay, so anyway, he was telling me...
My chair doesn't rock.
Oh, God, that is going to be so loud. I hope you guys have not got headphones in. But he was telling me, this story because a funny thing with a lot of Chinese, speakers in general and stuff. They won't say anything about their government or anything like that. But this particular Esperanto I was speaking with, he was prepared to say everything type of thing. And his family, pretty much his entire family is over in Taiwan except for him. And he's in the mainland. And I was like, how'd that end up happening? And he's like, well, during the Civil War situation, what happened is the National Party, it slowly collapsed down as the Communist Party took power. And anyway, his family, so his, I think it was his granddad or his dad or whatever, they were in Taiwan, but they had to come back to Chongqing in China to look after their great grandfather. It's one of the biggest cities in China, but most people never heard about it. Anyway, he went back there to look after him, and he had to get a train to some small town, and then he had to catch the train back just as the front lines were collapsing in, and he missed the last flight to Taiwan, and there was no more flights for 20 years or something. So he was literally stuck in China by himself with no other family member, and he just had to adapt to the new communist lifestyle.
That's kind of horrific.
Yeah, imagine you fly to say go to France or whatever, you land, and then suddenly for the next 20 years there's no flights out of this country. You just have to become French.
Dude.
Well, I'd be okay if my wife's with me. I'd be like, okay, bonjour, mon ami. I'd learn the language, no problem. But imagine if your entire family is left behind and it's just you.
And you just can't leave.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That would hurt.
Yeah. I'm guessing it'd be a similar situation to people who are in the South and North Korea, when that war happened, their families are split and stuff.
I'm sure there was some situation.
What about your family? Because they left before the war went on.
Yes, they left
long before that. Yeah.
But my family did actually experience some repercussions based on the war though.
Oh really?
Also, to answer the question very simply, is just my family's from Germany. I've got some German ties, and I just thought it'd be interesting to learn their language. We've got some old books that belong to my great uncle, and I was just like, I've got this book. I want to learn. I want to learn these things.
Yeah.
So that's answering that question. But no, some of my family was, even during World War II, was actually sent to prisoner of war camps here in Australia.
Oh, Jesus, okay.
Yeah.
Because I know they sent the Japanese to prisoner of war camps.
Yeah, no, because my family was German,
I didn't know they did that to the Germans.
Yeah, no, they absolutely did. My great uncle, my grandfather's uncle, so great uncle.
Yep.
Yeah, he ended up spending years of his life in this camp. In fact, he was actually there even after the war had ended.
Wow.
They kept him and a number of others in the camps even after the war had ended. And when he returned, when he was finally released and allowed to go back to my family's home area to live, they regularly kept tabs on him. What did he do that got them so much attention? Absolutely nothing.
Did he just have the right complexion or something?
So the actual story, as far as we know it, as best we understand, is he was even the wrong one for them to have grabbed. They actually meant to grab my great-grandfather instead.
Just randomly grab the wrong one.
Because there were two, there were the two brothers, two brothers in my family, and one of them was an engineer, a very clever man, and he he you know created his own electrical systems around the house. He basically the town that they lived in didn't have electricity, and he introduced it to the town himself by setting up his own like generators and batteries, and there was like this 12-volt lighting setup that he put through the town himself.
Oh wow!
And he created his own electric fences around his property, and which no one had at the time.
Yeah, jeez.
And so when the war is happening and this really early tech is going on, and it's like, this is, we better keep eyes on this man. He's
a smart one.
He's a smart one.
So then they grab the dumb one.
They grab the dumb one.
That's the efficiency of the Australian government. We better get the smart one, and then old mate Jimmy's walking down the road. That's the smart one, grab him!
They just showed up and went, we're grabbing the brother. They just took the dumb one.
Because the smart one was smart enough to keep hidden, you see.
Yeah.
And the dumb one wasn't. Yeah. So let me get this right. Your heritage is the dumb one?
No, my heritage is the musical engineers.
Okay, cool.
Musicians and engineers.
Okay, I trust you on that. But there's kind of similar reasons for why I started learning Chinese. Obviously no one in my heritage, but I married my wife.
Yes.
And the first few years, I actually had no interest in learning Chinese at all. Yeah. Because that was my Esperanto heyday type of period.
Yeah.
Where I was doing all my Esperanto stuff. I didn't even think about Chinese as a language. But every time my in-laws, because my in-laws moved in with me type of thing. By the way, there is a joke that people always say. They go, if you marry a Chinese person, you're going to adopt the whole family. And I always thought that was a joke. No, it's true. You will adopt the whole family. But anyway, so they moved in, and then my wife would be laughing and chatting with them. But the Chinese language is just louder than most languages. So I thought they were fighting all the time. I'm like, what's going on in here? What are you guys fighting about? And they'd just be like, we're not fighting, we're discussing what's for dinner. And I was like, but it's so angry.
I've heard them chatting before. It's wild.
It's wild. They can get really loud and excited type of thing. But then after a while, I was like, I've got to learn this. So I just stopped thinking that there's some type of internal war happening in my family.
Yeah.
And then you start figuring out pretty quickly that just the chicken soup is really exciting to them.
Oh man.
Oh, but it's the. This is even more funny. Is I studied Japanese in school for 4 years. I never used it after, so I forgot everything. And then I went and married a Chinese girl.
Yeah.
Man, why did I do that? I should have married a Japanese girl. At least I've got something I could have used.
What have you done to yourself?
I don't know. And the funny thing is, the Chinese to Japanese, they've got the same type of love as the French to the English type of thing. So you don't want to mix them up either.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of historical hatred there.
Yeah. No, I'm lucky. I don't have any cultural issues within my little bit of a family.
Yeah.
My partner, she's just monolingual English. I'm trying to convince her to learn Esperanto.
I know you've been trying to rope me into that.
I'm really pushing her. She's not going to watch this, but I'm really.
I'm guessing she's the same. She doesn't want to watch 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 50 minutes of you talking.
She doesn't want to learn from me either. It's it's not like an insulting thing to me. It's she doesn't think that she'll be able to consider me as an educator because I'm her partner.
And then she just looks at me and laughs.
So she would learn from you.
For real? Okay.
Yeah, she said that if you wanted to teach lessons to her, she would learn it.
Okay, Esperanto House, let's go.
All right, let's do it. Got to convince her to come out here, though.
Yeah, that's true. It's a bit of a hike.
But her family, she's another one of those examples of she wasn't taught her family's language.
Mm-hmm.